come? Lord, to whom shall we go? You have the words of eternal life. Hallelujah. The Holy Gospel according to Matthew, the 5th chapter. When Jesus saw the crowds, he went up the mountain. After he sat down, his disciples came to him. Then he began to speak and taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. Blessed are the meek, for they will inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they will be filled. Blessed are the merciful, for they will receive mercy. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they will see God. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called children of God. Blessed are those who are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are you when people revile you, persecute you, and utter all kinds of evil against you falsely on my account. Rejoice and be glad, for your reward is great in heaven. For in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. The Gospel of the Lord. When most people think about saints, they think about those that the Roman Catholic has somehow deemed as having had a special place in human relations. Now, you may not know, but to become a saint in the Roman Catholic Church is a tricky process. There's a great deal of effort that is put into making sure that the right kind of people are given that particular title. I mean, first, you have had to have had a reasonably good life. You had to have done well while you were alive on earth. People have needed to have recognized that you were of significance long before you died. But then, to make it even trickier, in order to become a saint, certain miracles have to be supported, verified, after you're gone. So not only do you have to do good works while you're alive, you have to keep it up after you've gone to be with those in paradise. And only then, when there's enough evidence, you get to move up to that position of sainthood. And there are, in fact, stages on your way up to that. It's very complicated. I haven't quite figured it out, but I know there's some guy in Detroit who made it to one level below sainthood. And the locals were pretty excited when it happened. So, when you have that image of saints before you, you have the idea that somehow sainthood is something that you earn, that you've made it, and now you have a status. And then they start naming churches after you, and you go to the shrines, and you walk 500 miles across northern Spain to get to St. James Place in Compostela. You do all this kind of stuff, because these are special people. Now, generally, we would agree that the ones that the Roman Catholic Church has set aside as being sanctified deserve it. I mean, we're not going to argue against Mother Teresa becoming a saint, or Oscar Romero becoming a saint, or even John Paul II. We all saw the value they brought to life. But when we look at that, we think of sainthood more like a lifetime achievement award. Something that they get at the end to say, well done, you get to be called this. And we look at them as examples of the kind of life that people ought to live. I mean, they're stellar examples. They're people who did the Jesus thing in their life and made a difference for so many folk. Now, we've taken it even a step further and started to talk about the saints as those who have died and gone to that place where God dwells, where we will as well. That sainthood is arrived by dying, and then the next thing you know, you get to be among the saints in glory. We sing about it for all the saints who from their labor rest. We remember the saints on this particular Sunday, those members of our congregation and family members who have died and gone before us. And so we have something like that. Maybe we're not going through the beatification process, but we still have a notion that sainthood has to do with being dead. at least dead from a human point of view. But what if sainthood isn't a lifetime achievement award? Sainthood isn't what you get at the end, but sainthood is bestowed upon us when we're baptized. What if sainthood is nothing more than being a child of God? As John writes in his letter, you are children of God now. It is a title that we receive by virtue of God's declaration upon us. It's a title that we receive at the beginning of our lives, when we are set apart in the waters of holy baptism and made part of the community of saints on this side of eternity. When we become one with all those who have gone before us, that are here now, and those who are still to come, sainthood is what we are now. And sainthood is what we live out of. It is the starting point for the decisions we make. Jesus even gives us sort of a guideline in the Gospel of Matthew of the kinds of ways that sainthood or blessedness is exhibited. Peacemakers, mercy givers, people who seek out the hungry and feed them, people who live for others. That's where sainthood takes its work. And yeah, someday we'll get all the good stuff and we'll end up in heaven and we'll see all the marvelous things that the book of Revelation describes. Yeah, we'll get all that. But because we've already been given the opportunity and the responsibility, we put it into practice now. Now, we know, and we don't have to look really hard, that we don't always do that. In fact, Luther was so sure that that was not going to happen that he said that human beings are simultaneously saints and sinners, that we've all the blessed things from God, and then we have all the screw-uppy things from being simple human beings. And yet, even when we make those mistakes, even when we don't live up to what God intends, if our efforts are of the sort that reflect the characteristics of the saints of God, then we will make an impact on the lives of those around us. We will touch the hearts, the souls, the spirits, the very presence of those near and far. Those who feel loss, those who feel pain, those who feel despair, those who feel fatigue, whatever it might be. We who are called and chosen by God are given the opportunity to live it out. We are God's children, and we're learning to see how God will use us in the world. But I know this much: God will use us for good, for we are His saints, now and forever.